What's up, everybody? We are back. Chester ARP Church Devotional Podcast. Hey, thanks so much for being with us as we gather together this morning. We will read from Ezra chapter 4. The people of God rebuilding the temple have found themselves with opposition from the inhabitants of the land that they are rooting out and who are already there when the exiles return home. They send a letter to King Artaxerxes to accuse the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem of rebellion against his order and against his reign. This is what we find here in verse 7 of Ezra chapter 4. In the days of Artaxerxes, Bishlam and Mithredath and Tabeel and the rest of their associates wrote to Artaxerxes, king of Persia. The letter was written in Aramaic and translated. Rehum, the commander of Shimshai, the scribe, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes, king, as follows. Rehum the commander, Shishmai the scribe, and the rest of their associates, the judges, the governors, the officials, the Persians, the men of Erech, the Babylonians, the men of Susa, that is, the Elamites, and the rest of the nations, whom the great noble Onaspar deported and settled in the cities of Samaria and in the rest of the province beyond the river. This is a copy of the letter that they sent. To Artaxerxes the king, your servants, the men of the province beyond the river, send greeting. And now it be it known to the king that the Jews who came up from you to us have gone to Jerusalem. They are rebuilding that rebellious and wicked city. They are finishing the walls and repairing the foundations. Now be it known to the king that if this city is rebuilt and the walls finished, they will not pay tribute, custom, or toll, and the royal revenue will be impaired. Now because we eat the salt of the palace, and it is not fitting for us to witness the king's dishonor, therefore we send and inform the king, in order that search may be made in the book of the records of your fathers. You will find in the book of the records and learn that this city is a rebellious city, hurtful to kings and provinces, and that sedition was stirred up in it from old. That was why this city was laid waste. We make known to the king that if this city is rebuilt and its walls finished, you will then have no possession in the province beyond the river. So the opponents who are there by virtue of being moved into the area by the noble, they say in this particular letter which we read, send word to King Artaxerxes saying, these people are rebuilding the temple, they're rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. This is a wicked city, this is not going to go good. Now I said last time that I think really what's pushing and what's driving this concern is not so much their concern for the dishonor of the king, though they say we eat it from the salt of the king's table and it does not do us well to suffer the dishonor of the king. I think fundamentally what's at work here is that they don't like God and they find themselves in a position of losing their homeland. The people of Jerusalem have returned. If they establish Jerusalem and they establish the worship of God there, they reconnect to their identity as a people, and therefore they take dominance back over that region. And the people who are writing the letter are concerned and angry that they're going to lose their position and lose their place in the kingdom, and they're going to lose their land, their homes that they have built and established over the last 50 to 70 years after they've moved in when the people of God were carried off into captivity. So they send this word to the king to try to tell the king what's going on. They're basically trying to tell the king, you need to understand what is happening here in Jerusalem. This is not going to go well for you. It's not going to go well for us. They're a wicked city. They have a history of sedition. They have a history of rising up against those who are in leadership. They are a dominant force in this area. And particularly, they don't mention it, but particularly it's connected to the worship of their God, because we understand and know that the God of the Bible is the dominant God of all creation, because he is the only God of all creation. And when he takes action in the testimony of the Scriptures, all others stand down and all others must take note and stand up and listen. And so he is once again being established, the worship of his name, and he's establishing his people in this region, and this is a problem for those who are living there. I said last time, and I think I'll reiterate, their issue is they do not like the God of the Bible, and they do not like the people of God, period. And so they want to attack, they want to stop the people of God from fulfilling the work that God has given them to do, because they can't stop God, but they can stop the people from doing what God has called them to do. And so they're trying to intervene, and so they're bribing counselors, they are discouraging the people directly, and now they sent this word to the king saying, hey, listen, you need to do something important. You need to stop this. Also, If you don't believe us, go back through the history and the annals of the kingdom and go back through your books and note the history of Jerusalem and how it is a place that has, quote, been a rebellious city, hurtful to kings and provinces, and that sedition was stirred up in it from old. Go back and figure that out and find that out. They're pointing them to the history of Israel, which was a free state, and it was a people who followed their God and who trusted in him and who refused to submit to the leadership of the kings around them. Now, we look at that as the people of God. We look at that as free Americans and Westerners, and we say, hey, listen, good for Israel. Good for Israel. But there, they didn't like that because they knew that Israel was a place that refused to bow the knee to the kingdoms of the area and the kingdoms of the region around them, and as a result of that, were a proud people. And so they're saying to King Artaxerxes, you're about to lose your kingdom, you're about to lose this wonderfully rich and place, and that has a lot of resources and a lot of opportunities. You're going to lose all this kind of stuff, and plus we're in danger, and so you just need to be ready for this because we're concerned about you. But they couch it by saying they're concerned about the king's honor. Maybe they are, but for the most part, they're concerned about what they're going to lose. And I think that's an important perspective for us as we live in the world in which we follow the Lord Jesus Christ, in the world in which we live. There are those who would oppose the church. There are those who would oppose the people of God. They try to come up with these noble reasons, but fundamentally they're opposed to God because of the conviction of sin or because the challenges that they have to deal with as a result of their own lifestyle issues. They're going to lose their, quote, territory, their power, their control, and as a result of that, they're going to come after the people who threaten that because those people live free. We live in the freedom of Christ. I'm not bound. You're not bound by the laws of men, by the perceptions of men. We are living in the freedom of Christ. I don't really care what anybody else in the world thinks about me. You shouldn't either, right? In the sense of regarding your eternity, regarding your morality, etc., you are to follow the work of God, worry about what he has to say, testify to his glory, and let the world sort itself out. The world doesn't like that, and so they want to attack. And they will do very much the same kind of things, just kind of conjure up ideas, conjure up thoughts, conjure up plans that really have no standing at all, but they're simply there to try to stop the work of God being done in the world in which we live. You guys take care. God bless you. Remember that. Have that perspective in mind as you think about following him. See you next time.